Ooh, I'm live. G'day, people. So now this is going to look like a wine bottle. I'll just start this. I'm not drinking wine. This is actually water. I just drink water out of glass. So that's why this is here. There are wine bottles everywhere, but they're just full of water. They're not actually full of wine. So what I'm going to go over is this event, which I've just done. And I do it for business purposes, self-development purposes, but business in particular. So I'm going to give you a review on my thoughts of it. It's not my first time doing it, so that'll probably give you a hint to where I'm going. Uh, and some of my key takeaways and whether or not I think you should do it, what sort of person it's good for. But this should be a good one. I hope you enjoy this. If you don't, then that's fine. Tell me that you don't. Right. So one of the first things that we do when we're starting is you go through why you're sort of there. He introduces himself. He goes through it all. And obviously, at the moment, there's this whole situation that's going on around the world where apparently everyone wants to be a communist. That's just the in vogue thing to do. So he's going through that, and a lot of business people are the sort of people that go to his events. So he understands that there's a lot of people who have had their businesses shut down. They're not allowed to operate. And they're probably pretty angry about that, pretty upset about it, and going through often some grief related to the loss of finances or the environment they're going through. So one of the first things he went through was the 5 stages of grief, which I think is a phenomenal thing to be aware of, because every single person is going to experience grief in their life in some way, shape, or form. And if you understand what the process is to go through it, can be really good. There's well, I don't know what the thing is when they say there's a bunch of letters, and then the letters all stand for a word, and it'll come to me in a sec. But it's dadba, which is the one for grief. So the first D is denial. The A is anger. The second D is depression, and then you've got bargaining, and then acceptance. And he added a 6th on there, which he called creation. I actually thought that was really good, because rather than being a victim in your life and feeling that everything's going bad, you're like, okay, cool. What can I create now? What can I do? So 5 stages of grief. So let's use this whole situation and having a business shut down. I'll use mine, right? My business has been shut down. Nah, they're not going to shut the business down. Nah, we're not going to go into lockdown. Nah, they're not going to tell us we're not allowed to leave our houses. Denial, right? And then it's anger. Oh, I hate these people, right? How dare they do this? How dare they do this? Ah. And a lot of people at the moment are still in that stage, or are probably just coming to that stage where they're now being told that they're not allowed to work because there's certain medical requirements for them to actually work. So they're getting quite angry, and you'll see these massive protests in Melbourne, which is part of the process of people going through these stages. And after that anger, after you experience that and let it out, usually you'll flow into a depression stage where you feel pretty hopeless about things. What's the point? Why bother? That's definitely happened. Probably more last year for me. I think that was a pretty solid one. Yeah, for a lot of fronts, for the business, the lack of freedom. It wasn't like I was immobilized by it, but it was definitely a big factor. And then bargaining, and you're sort of like trying to justify and say, oh well, if I trade this, then I'll get this back. And that's probably a lot of what the media is sort of doing, and even the governments, in what they're sort of trying to incentivize people to get their government given, not God given, government given freedoms. Apparently, this whole bargaining thing. If you do this, then we'll give you this. If you do this, then we'll allow you to work. You're not a slave, right? Like, it's pretty crazy. And then it's acceptance of the situation, and you're sort of like, okay, cool, this has happened. Sweet, is what it is. And then I loved this, and I haven't heard him do this before. He's added on this 6th step, which was creation. So rather than sitting there and being like, okay, cool, they're shut down my business, they're not allowing me to operate, all these other things are happening. One of the amazing things that you can do if you have a shift of this, and it's very, very difficult when you're in it, very difficult. But if you understand that at this point in time, most people, almost all, are thinking the exact same way about this. They're like, screw this, I hate this, F the government, F putting in the effort and having everything stolen from me. Pretty much everything that I'm sort of reading in the Atlas Shrugged book, and I agree with it. Why would you put in the efforts? Like I said, I don't want to pay a cent of tax to the government, and I will find every single way not to. And I'll happily move countries to a place like Dubai, no income tax, right? And it's very, very easy to get a residency there, and you've got a lot of wealthy people there. Shocker! There's no taxes, right? As if wealth wouldn't want to go there. The more you tax people, the more the wealthy want to leave, and they'll go find conditions that are conducive to them. So, while there's things that you can do. The creation step's really important. A lot of people being really annoyed are going to stick their heads in the sand. They're going to shut down their business. They're not going to be serving. But you've still got this market out there that wants those things. It's just at this point in time, you're not able to offer them in the in-person way or the same way that you did before. And if you go back to doing what you did before all this thing happened, because there's a lot of people that are trying to change the world on a scale that individuals like myself and like pretty much everyone that would ever watch this is probably not going to be able to do anything about. You're going to be beating your head against the wall, and you're just going to be frustrated and angry all the time because it ain't going to work. So how do you pivot? How do you make it change so you can actually become someone that's providing a service or a product to these people in a way that they're going to reciprocate to? And that's a really powerful thing, because if you succeed in doing it, you've almost got no competition because everyone else has chucked their head in the sand. So while this is a horrible, horrible time for a lot of reasons, it's an enormous opportunity if you make the right choices and you make the right pivots in your business to get a massive hold on the market, and you can take a quantum leap in your wealth very, very quickly from that. So that was the first thing that he talked about. And then this is one of my crucial takeaways. I'm going really, I'll speed this up. There. Okay. So a decision made from fear is usually the wrong decision, which I 100% agree with. And it ties into what I was saying there. Most people, when they're making decisions, especially in this state, are making it out of fear. And fear is perpetuated by the media because, what's the media quote? If it bleeds, it leads, right? Media understand this. So doing all this sensationalism, they get clicks. They get paid for clicks. They don't care if it's true or if it's not. They get paid for clicks. So that's what they do. And being aware of that and not buying into it allows you to think a little bit more clearly, and then you can get a better response, I guess, to whatever you're doing. All right, you cannot manage what you don't measure. So if you're not measuring your finances, if you're not measuring your health, in whether it be blood test, weight, whatever, however, if you're not measuring the quality of your relationship, if you're not measuring your intellect, your learning, your personal growth, your personal development, your social goals, your personal goals, if you're not measuring those things, you cannot manage them, which means it's like a boat in the ocean or a sailboat in the ocean with no rudder, and it's just sort of going with the current and the waves. And that's great, but it's not really going to get you to a specific destination of your choosing. And you can often just be floating around being like, screw this, I hate this, why is this happening? So that was that. My purpose of being there was basically a tune-up. I felt pretty good beforehand. There's a couple of things that I was annoyed with and a couple of big changes for me. This part, really, really crucial, the success cycle, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because he's done some videos on it, and this is enormous. Potential feeds action, action feeds results, results feed belief in your ability, which feeds to potential, and this works in a positive and negative way. So if you believe you've only got a little bit of potential, you're only going to take a little bit of action. A little bit of action is going to get you probably little results. Little results are going to reinforce the belief that you've only got a little potential, or maybe you've got less potential. And so you then take less action, worse results, boom. So that's a negative spiral. But if you start drilling into yourself, okay, cool, I'm amazing, I'm astonishing, I'm outstanding, I've got so much energy, I've got so much passion, I'm amazing in business, who wouldn't want to work with me because I'm so amazing? Then your potential, your belief in your potential is going to be higher, which means you're likely to take greater action. If you take greater action, you're going to get better results. If you get better results, you're likely going to reinforce the belief that you are actually capable of more and you've got more to give or to do. So Those two. Then an extraordinary life. The quality of my life is the quality of my emotions I feel most often. I agree strongly with that. So, if you want a high quality life, then you need high quality emotions. So, how do you control those emotions? And this is why UPW is amazing, and I endorse it. And this is like my seventh now or sixth, one of those two, in between attending and being on the crew, like they're serving the people who are attending and getting that experience. It is phenomenal, and I strongly recommend it because it can. If you go there for the hoopla and the rah rah rah, like you'll have a great time. You'll feel really good. It does rewire you. It does change your nervous system so that you're geared towards some more positive things. But what it really, really does, if you pay attention, is it teaches you about emotions and how to manage change and handle them so that you're in control. You will not get taught this at school. You will not get taught this at university. You will not get taught this anywhere mainstream. Right? You have to go off the mainstream to start learning about emotions and how to create them yourself and how to manage them. Because and this is the trick, and this is why no one does it. And I don't I don't really care anymore. I used to get really annoyed. I was looking at these people. I'm like, my gosh, why aren't you doing it? And I get really frustrated because they're people you love or you care about. And why aren't you doing anything to do this? It's actually really easy to control the emotions that you have. The information's there. Go and search for it, and you just deny it because most people just want to be useful idiots, and that's fine. But when you learn, if you're a person that knows how to control your emotions, and yes, you're human, you're going to slip up, you're going to fuck up, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to go out of it, you're going to feel bad at times, you're going to feel angry at times, you're going to feel sad at times. That's cool. But if you know how to pull yourself out of it and you don't live there, you are so incredibly powerful because other people don't get to control you. If you are in control of your emotions, you are in control of your life. Period. Okay? Your emotional state determines pretty much everything in your life and how you're going to be able to respond and how you're going to react to it. Very simply, like someone punches you in the face and you probably going to get pretty angry about it, right? But if you're still angry about it at the end of the day, that's your fault. That's not that person's fault. The punch is gone. It's done. You don't know what's happened to them. Like, you don't know why they punched you in the face. Maybe they just walked out of a house where the whole family got shot and strangled and had their throats slit in front of them. Like, you don't know that. And if that did happen, yeah, you'd probably want to punch someone in the face, or you'd be crying, or your emotions would be going crazy. Like, if that was the person's situation, unlikely that it is, but it's a possibility. If that was the person's situation, I'd be happy for the person to punch me. I'd be like, cool, great, let it out. Like, I don't want you to sort of bottle it up and feel horrible. It becomes a privilege to get punched in the face. Being able to change that perspective and that perception changes the emotion. And this is why a UPW event and Tony Robbins is phenomenal because he teaches this and he teaches it really, really well. So, for me, one of the big focuses was this is where it came from, and it was the idea that I'm not in control of my future because and this was a challenge for me because when I first came to this, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so pumped up. The world was great, everything was fine. So being able to control my emotions was amazing. And 2017 was my first one, right? The end of 2017. And it was amazing because I discovered it was like the Holy Grail for me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. And then what's happened currently has happened because one of the things that Tony teaches is that if you provide more value than anyone else, you'll get more. The more you give, the more you get. So the people who are the wealthiest and have the most are the ones who give the most or create the most for other people. So one of the things that I really struggled with was this year or in the last couple of years since this whole thing has happened was, all right, I was providing a really good service that people really liked, that people want to continue. And it wasn't that I wasn't providing a good service and I wasn't doing well, that I am no longer allowed to operate. It was actually someone else that told me that I couldn't. And that's true. And so I was really angry because it was challenging this belief that had basically transformed my entire life. From okay, cool, you're in control of your life, you're in control of this. Just make the action, make the decisions, and you're going to be able to create an amazing life. And I did, and I have, and there's been a ton of struggles along the way. But my life in general is phenomenal, like so amazing. I'm very happy with it, and the changes in the times since my first event with that gentleman have been astonishing, like absolutely insane. But they come from taking action and not just from the event. The event's great, but if you don't do anything with the information, it doesn't go anywhere. And most people don't do anything, and that's really sad. But useful idiots. That's just what it is. Um, so one of the problems that I had was this new belief that I'd had that I wasn't in control of my future, that I didn't get to shape my future. And we do this exercise where we go through and we look at our beliefs and shifting focus and all these sorts of things to try and work out when the negative emotions are coming up, what's triggering them, so that you can identify these things and basically be aware of them. It's like awareness is the first step to recovery in pretty much anything. If you're not aware of a problem, it's not going to fix. So if you just ignore your finances and then you get a massive bill in the mail for all this credit card debt later on, you could have prevented that if you're aware of this earlier. And the same thing with your health. If your body's giving you signs, if you're sick, if you've got low energy, if things are falling apart and you're just popping pills to block off the symptoms, that your body's telling you, okay, cool, there's some issues here. I'm trying to get it out. I'm trying to give you a signal something's wrong. And you just try and cut off all the signals, then you end up with a massive terminal illness later on, and you're dead, 30 years earlier than you should have been. The last 20 years of your life were horrible and lifeless. You've lost 50 years because you weren't willing to pay attention to the signs, and that's no one's fault except your own. So finding ways to be aware of these emotions and the triggers was a really big part of this program, and a really cool part. And the one that I found for me, which was awesome, was my frustration and belief that I didn't control my own future. And that's a very hard thing for a person like me to create, who takes responsibility for everything, to believe that I'm not responsible for my own future. That was really, really difficult. But it's very easy to reinforce that belief in a country where you're not allowed to leave. You're barely allowed outside your home. There's all these things, but these are all temporary, right? They're not going to stay, and there's always ways around them. There's always ways around them, and I know that. It just wasn't the dominant thought. So, what I was thinking about there is that shift is, okay, cool. Is it true that I really don't control my future? No, it's bullshit. There's elements that I don't control, yes, but they're outside me. And the biggest determining factor in my future is the person that I am, that goes up and confronts those issues or those challenges that are coming up. And I am in complete control of who I create by my beliefs, my rituals, what I do each day, my body, my health, my relationships, my relationship with myself, my faith, my self-belief, my self-worth, my confidence. They are all completely in my control. And all those things go into creating the person that I am. And so if I control those things, then I control who I am. And who I am is going to be the biggest contributing factor to the future that I create for myself. There's always going to be outside shit that you don't control. You don't get to control the weather. You don't get to control morons making stupid decisions in government that have no logic. It is what it is. Like sometimes there's a storm, sometimes there's lightning. Lightning strikes on the top of a hill. Did you direct the lightning in that direction? No, you don't know. You just got to go with it. But the way that you respond is always on you. And you will respond differently depending on who you are in that moment. If I show up to the moment as the pissed off, angry version of myself, which I definitely have, if I show up as the depressed version of myself to the same event of the government saying that I'm not allowed to operate or I'm not allowed out of the country, all this sort of shit, I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and get pissed off, angry, more depressed, more upset, more irritated. But if I show up to that as a confident, courageous, powerful, physically strong, vibrant, energetic human being, how much differently am I going to handle that situation? It's going to be so different. And I'm in complete control of that. So it was just it's a deeper learning. It's a deeper learning, and life throws out these challenges and likes to test you. And it was just interesting to have that deeper level of understanding now is, okay, cool. The belief that I don't control my future is partially correct. And I'm not dismissing it completely because, yeah, there's elements of my future I don't control. But the biggest factor in determining what my future is who I am when I meet those situations. And I control that. And I get to do things each day to build that. So that was a really big one for me in identifying these beliefs and going through them. Massive. It only seems like a small thing, but it's quite huge. We get to areas where you're looking at practical psychology, how you're using your body, how that affects how you feel. He talks about this 2 mm shift. What stops you from moving forward, from going to where you are to where you want to be? Fear. You might call it different things, but there's elements of that. So we're still on the first day at the moment, but I'm gonna skip through the rest because that was my biggest takeaway, and that was pretty important. But when I was talking about emotions, this is the event in a nutshell. Okay, this is what the event's about. Is the triad: controlling your state, controlling your emotional state, and this, if you master this, your life will be anything you want it to be. So, what does it mean? Physiology, it refers to your body. Focus refers to your thoughts, your mind, and language refers to the words and that you use. And every emotion that you experience has different elements. So if you think of it, if I told you that behind that door there was a really depressed, sad person, and I asked you, okay, cool, can you explain to me what they'd look like? You don't see them, but I'm pretty sure. Like, how would they be standing? Where are their shoulders? Are their shoulders up and back, or are they down? Is their head down? Is their energy moving down, or is it moving up? Are they smiling? Are they frowning? Are they animated? Are they moving fast, or are they moving slow? There's all these things that you know because you do this. I'm the same. I know it because I do it. And this is it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple to understand that there are specific things you do with your body when you're feeling a certain way. And the depression or the angry or the sad ones are pretty easy to work out because we all practice them pretty comfortably. And our brain's also wired for that naturally. Okay? So it's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. And being aware of it is really, really crucial. On the flip side, there's also things that you do with your body when you're feeling really good, when you're feeling happy. You'll probably, if you haven't noticed already, if you're watching till now, kudos to you, you've done well. But you'll notice that when I'm moving and I'm speaking, I'm quite quick with how I'm speaking. And I'm quite animated. I'm moving a lot. My chest is high. My shoulders are back. That's because I feel really good at the moment. Right? And I can change that if I want to, but I like feeling this way. So I practice this each day, literally. In the mornings, this is what I do. 3 things I'm grateful for. I've got songs playing that I really love. 3 things that I love about myself. And 2 things that I'm excited about creating my life. Every morning I'll do that. And I'll spend about half an hour doing that. I had been lazy on it. Before this event, and I realized that was actually one of the things that was contributing to me feeling like I wasn't in control. So just flipping that switch back on and doing it. But at the start of the year, I did it for about 3 months nonstop, and it was phenomenal. Towards the end of last year into the start of this year, crazy experience. So just flipping that back on. So the body was one, right? The second one was focus, and that's this. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because this controls what I'm thinking about. So if I start my day thinking about good things, things I'm happy about, things I'm excited about, likely that's going to expand. Okay? And there's certain words and language that I use that I attach to things that I'm grateful for. So Jack, even the way I say it, right? That's my dog. He makes me so grateful. He makes me feel so loving. He makes me feel like connected spiritually. He makes me like so happy because he's just an amazing, awesome, cool dog. Now, sometimes I get pissed off with him, but it's not usually his fault. It's usually my fault for not teaching him that way. Again, taking responsibility and looking what I can control in that situation. So there's different words that I'll do. And if I practice those, so if I practice how I use my body when I feel, when I feel gratitude, for example, how do I hold, how do I breathe? Where's my chest? Where's my shoulders? What's my facial expression when I'm feeling gratitude? Because that's if you feel that emotion quite often, then anger and gratitude aren't able to exist at the same time. So if you're feeling gratitude more often than not, you're in a state that's going to allow you to handle whatever comes up in a better way. All right. So there's certain things you do with your body when you're feeling gratitude. There's certain things you think about when you're feeling gratitude. If you wanted to right now, could you think about something that makes you feel really grateful? Of course you could, because it's just a thought. And right then in that moment, what you've done is you've directed the thought. It could be a person, it could be a place, it could be a thing, it could be a memory, something that happened in the past. If you take control and you direct your thoughts, it is ultimate power. Ultimate power. Most people just don't, and they fly around all the time, or they let external sources like the media control. And if you're seeing things flashing up about how bad everything is and all the violence and all the bad stuff in the world, that's what's sort of training your mind, and you start feeling more of those emotions. And then the third thing is the language. What are the languages or the words you associate to gratitude or being grateful? It could be love, it could be compassion, it could be understanding, it could be bravery, it could be a person's name, it could be a place that you've been to, that could be any word that you sort of attach to it. And when you put all those together, you create the emotion, and that is what the event's about. And that is the reason that right there, it's called the triad. Go and search it up, go and learn it, but more than anything, go to the event and do it. That is what it's about. And if you can nail that, it's believe me, it is an absolute game changer. So what did I say? First event was 2017. 2017, my net worth when I went to his first event, he was just a keynote speaker. He was doing like was it 27? It might have been 2016. He was a keynote speaker. I've got the lanyard that I had to wear. Still got it on me at an event, and I'll use money because money is an easy term to measure, right? But I could use my body. My body's changed immensely since I started with him as well. My finances, my relationship with myself more than anything has changed hugely. But finance is an easy one to measure because it's numbers. It's, if you don't measure it, you don't manage it, right? Back then, I didn't measure a lot more. I was only starting to learn how to measure my finances back then. So let's say 2016, I went to the first 3-hour event, but it wasn't this one. 2017, I went to my first UPW, and it was like, man, it was my place. I was like, this is amazing. Super high energy, super energetic. It's like pop, 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 pop. Like a rock concert, but for 4 days. And I was exhausted. But afterwards, I was incredibly sick because I didn't drink enough water. Because I didn't want to pee, because I didn't want to miss any content. And you're just jumping and you're going crazy. And doing that and not drinking water, you develop a lot of acid in your body and get quite sick. So afterwards, I was really sick. Very important, if you go to this event and you want to go all out and do it, make sure you drink a ton of water. It's okay to pee a lot. Like, it's good. But it is very intense, and it's demanding as an event, but it helps you push to that next level. So my net worth when I went there was, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 grand. It wasn't much. It was around that sort of mark. About 3 months after I got sacked from the job that I was working in, after having a falling out with my boss, which was a massive blessing. it felt painful, not because I lost the job. I didn't want to be there, and to be honest, I probably wasn't doing a great job by him. I was doing better than anyone else that he had, but it wasn't great. Um, and yeah, it was. I was pretty broke at that point. I didn't really have much. I didn't have a home when I got sacked because I lived in the gym that I taught at, and so I was like sort of chopping houses here and there, and that was a funny time. It was really hard for me to charge for anything because I had such low self worth. So why would you go to an event like this if shortly after you feel like you're worth nothing? Um, I look at it as sort of a cleaning out process and getting rid of the old crap that I was hanging on to make way for the incredible life that I have now and the incredible people that are involved in it. So I think the the really cool thing was the shift in the net worth, and then how it all starts coming together, the investing, the compounding, all these little things that have come from it, because you change your emotional state consistently, and so you start taking different action. And my net worth is now also, let's say it was low four figures then, it's high six or say low seven now, as a total, but it's hard to sort of determine with business worth and a lot of things changing. Again, not in my control, but net worth's pretty good now, and that's a pretty big shift in a very short period of time. And it's not slowing down; it's actually picking up speed. It's growing faster and faster and faster. The last 2 years have been crazy, crazy in the amount that it has grown. So that's one measure that is easy to sort of compare, but the the money doesn't really matter. I'm very happy with my body. Like, I'm insanely healthy. I'm in complete control of my health, and this event definitely enhanced my understanding of health and how to manage it and be in control of it. But the biggest thing is understanding the emotional state and how to control that. So yes, UPW is phenomenal. That's a photo of me and TR at the event, but it's just it's a motivational one for me, and I put questions on it. I don't know him personally, like we're not mates or anything, but he's a phenomenal man. He does phenomenal things. He helps an enormous amount of people, but you have to take action on it. So if you're just like a lazy person, you know you're lazy and you know you don't have a lot of drive, this isn't something for you. Um, if you're not looking to really put in a lot of effort to experience life on another level and really improve your life, probably don't, it's probably not worth your while. You're better off just, I don't know, going to the pub and drinking a few beers and living paycheck to paycheck, which is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, not at all. A lot of people, that's the choice, and again, I don't judge it as right or wrong. It's not my preference to live like that. I don't like that instability. Um, and I don't like feeling like someone else controls my worth with a pay that they're giving. I like creating that for myself, but that's just my preference. There's a lot more work involved in that, and there's a lot more risk as well, and a lot more pain because it bloody hurts at times. But it's not right or wrong. That's just not my preference, and I think the people who aren't really looking to exceed or become an awesome version of themselves, again, like I said, it's not a bad thing, but it's probably not an event for you. If you've got something inside you that makes you think, I'm capable of more, I've got more in me to give and to become. I'm not right now doing what I'm capable of. I have more, but I don't know how to get it. I don't know how to bottle it up and put it out there. I don't know how to create that. This is an event for you. Just be willing to put in the work, be willing to struggle, be willing to feel enormous amounts of pain, very short bursts, to give you enormous payoffs later on. This event is it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's super powerful, and I cannot recommend it enough. Really, 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 really good. If you're one of the other people and you just want to have a good time, this is, it's great to do that too. You meet some pretty cool people. One of the other things I'll quickly, no, I won't. I'll leave it there. That was so I didn't even finish the first day, but there's a lot of exercises in there geared towards similar things, but the state management is the number one. And that comes from controlling the emotions. So I strongly recommend the hungry people that want to do that extra, go do it. If you're still watching this, you're probably a person that will be a good fit. Most people aren't watching this now, and they're just not good fits. Like I said, it's not right or wrong. Take the leap, go do it, get in that environment. In person if you can. Online's still good, but in person is way better. It's way better. Getting that feel, getting that physical interaction, really good. So I'll leave it there. That's my review on UPW. It's a definite thumbs up. I give it a 100 out of 10 rating because it's just bloody awesome. Yeah, go do it. Have an awesome day. See you on the next one.